Hello, and welcome back to Shatter Our Souls with Novaria. And today we're tackling Blacklist number 2, Bull. Well, it's been a long time coming, almost a year to the day. Um, and so I find it fitting that we reach the point where the gloves have come off. Now, you've heard me talk about Need for Speed Most Wanted before. You've heard me talk all about Bull's McLaren, but these. The fact of the matter is, here we are. Bull is the final gatekeeper before challenging Razor, Clarence Callahan, the individual who kicked off this whole ordeal, whose theft and whose theft really is what kicked this entire story off. And so, I want to first acknowledge that our dear friend Razor has been sweating, waiting for the Lexus to reach him. Now, I'll be honest. The Lexus is not my favorite car in this game. And while a lot of people say that, vehicles like the Corvette, the McLaren, or the Dodge Viper are superior in every way, the point of this run was to see whether or not I could beat the game, start to finish, with the Lexus. And with this, getting to the point of being able to challenge Blacklist number 2 with a Lexus LS300, I've been giggling. Because honestly, the kid that played this game way back in the day, years ago, back in 2005, had absolutely no idea that it was even remotely a possibility of being able to beat the game with the Lexus. Being able to challenge Bull and show that I can be ahead of him in any way, shape, or form would have had 8-year-old me absolutely shaking in his boots. So, I'd like to say that this, in and of itself, is one of those challenges and one of those series that has been a long time coming. Something that I've had in the back of my mind for 20 years. And so, seeing it to come to fruition, I have nothing but joy on this. But that's enough of that. Bull here, we know, has the McLaren. The McLaren has the top speed in the game. And the reality of it is that the McLaren is going to have one location that it absolutely dominates. And that's straightaways. Or slow curves. Now, the slow curves are areas like the highway on the outskirts of the college over in, Rosewood area. That area is the number one location for Bull. The secondary location would be the highway surrounding the Rockport area. Ironically, the area that this race takes place in, the Camden Beach area, is the worst area for Bull's McLaren, due to having the tighter turns, which are better for the Lexus. Overall, it's not super huge detail, but it is something that can't be overlooked. Knowing how your vehicle handles and how your opponent's handles is incredibly important. Now, I don't believe that I could beat this game without any upgrades, but being able to say that I was able to beat the game with only a Lexus is something that it does have me impressed. Now, aside from all of that, what is there to expect? By my guesstimation, there are 5 more videos for the entirety of this challenge. That being a run through the milestones, 1 for the sprints, 1 for circuits, 1 for toll booth time trials, maybe. And the finale with the big head honcho himself. And that is assuming that it's 5 and not 4 videos. Regardless, this challenge will be done in early January. So I look forward to seeing what you guys think. Are you excited for the finale? Drop a like in the below if you are, and we'll see where we go from there. Anywho, unfortunately, Bull is showing that he's not exactly holding his own, which is a tad disappointing. But he's only got 2 more chances to actually impress us. So far so good, I guess. Race 1 complete. The Iron Horse and Coast. Okay. Interesting location to start this all out at. So, is there a vehicle that you think would have been harder to do this with? I'd love to hear that, because there may be a possibility of doing a second run through this game. Or perhaps through Need for Speed Carbon. Actually, is there one of the 3 varieties, exotic, muscle, or tuners, that you feel would be the hardest to beat Need for Speed Carbon with? Let me know. And it's not looking good for Bull. He's lagging behind about 500 feet, give or take, on the low end, 700 to 800 on the high end. So, I believe part of it is just that Bull isn't actually able to control his car the way he should be able to. My guesstimation, if it were not for the opening of the game, was that he was new to his McLaren. But the reality, I just drove through a wall. The reality is that he's had, months to perfect his driving with this vehicle. I'm going to say a solid year of perfecting his driving with the McLaren. So there should be no feasible reason why he can't keep up. Unless it's just out of his capabilities. Which is very much a possibility, although not one that I like to entertain too much. Either way, Need for Speed Most Wanted's bosses have shown in numerous situations throughout this challenge that they're not as scary as the average races are, and are more of a formality for most of them. If you look back, Taz and Sunny were probably the easiest to beat, but ironically, they were the ones that held the best, or held their own the best, because my vehicle wasn't prepared. Beating Vic, Blacklist number 13, Izzy, and Big Lou. All 3 of those racers were incredibly good drivers, and yet none of them really held their own against the car. It was only after reaching Blacklist number 7, 8, or 8, 7, and 6 that there were any real concerns. But after beating Blacklist number 5, the bosses kind of fell off. It's almost like they're not even trying. This could be just that I have improved as much more than I had considered, Or it could be that the game has a very steep early game learning curve that kind of tapers off near the end of the game, which wouldn't be all that surprising. A lot of games tend to have that. But it is notable. I accidentally made him crash into a wall. If it were not for that, he would have won the race, which is kind of terrifying. But only one more race remains. And Bull is off to a bad start. We're starting off in the Rockport area near the southern section of the highway, closer to the Camden Beach area. And we're going to be making our way back to Rosewood. Ironically, a lot of races end up going back to Rosewood. There are 3 to 4 connecting points between the 3 boroughs of the city, and each of them is incredibly overused in the races, to the point where you almost, if you are driving by those locations, have an idea of where you're heading in the near future. It is a little bit of a, I suppose, a testament to the world building that it even has that to begin with, as a lot of games like Need for Speed Carbon don't utilize the full worlds to the greatest extent. Notably, the highway in the center location that spans from all the way from Angie's 21st Street all the way north to the um oh geez to the territory of the stacked deck. There is a singular highway that does not get used at all for that in any races whatsoever. And this is noting that they use every single one of the canyon walls throughout the entirety of the game as a means of having a alternative race style. So there is something to note there. Something that I don't think gets mentioned very often as far as Carbon goes. Anywho, unfortunately, the McLaren is lacking about 1,000 feet behind, and I don't see him catching up anytime soon, which is a crying shame. But be that as it may, we're not too worried about Bull anymore, at least I'm not. He's shown his hand, and it's a rather flat hand, only 1s and 2s. No, what we're more concerned with is the king, the kahuna, the boss, the honcho, the leader of the Blacklist 15, Razor. And it's about time we dig into that. Razor is rocking the BMW M3 GTR 2005 make and model. And this is a gorgeous piece of machinery. Actually, if you've seen recently that they have the 25th anniversary of Need for Speed, there is a recreation made by BMW in celebration of Need for Speed in general. So that was pretty cool. But be that as it may, the BMW has a few major components. Number one, it has among the very high-end acceleration, very high-end top speed. What it lacks is ironically handling, the one thing that this car does exceptionally well. So, we may be onto something. Anywho, Bull has fallen, and with $75,000 cash in hand, what else can we get out of Bull here? Way back in the day, if I won but didn't get the pink slip, I would actually shut down the game and retry, believing that the cars were the only thing that really mattered, was the only thing that would actually improve my luck. How wrong I was. Anywho, if you like what you see, drop a like, leave a subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Until then, have a good one.